Here at Construx, we've been able to do a trivial estimation item like count the number of coins in the room. When we ask a large number of individuals to do this relatively quickly, we get a number that can be really way off. We give those individuals a little bit more time, and we see that their estimates improve, but can still be off by 100%. We give them together in a group, and the estimates, while not perfect, are good enough for that early business decision. But the procedure is really important. Let's take a look how a typical group estimation process goes.
Hey everybody, I just got a call from upper management about the Zebra project, and they want to know some numbers, and they want to know them right now. So I need your best estimates. Okay, and I know we don't know much about this project, but that's okay. Just give me what you know right now. Come on, guys, I need something from you. If no one's going to go first, I guess I will. I think it's going to take about 9 months. What do you think, Jenny?
9 months? That doesn't sound right. I think it's bigger than that, but he's the boss, and he must know more about it than I do. I'd better just agree.
Yeah, 9 months. That seems reasonable.
Melissa?
9 months? Geez, I figured it was closer to 14 months, not 9 months. But those two both said 9, and I don't want to look like a fool, so I'll go with them.
Yeah, 9 months. I can go with 9 months.
Great, 9 months. How about it, Dave?
Isn't it time for Sally's baby shower soon? What should I get her? I really like those cute onesies at Babies Aren't You. Though a bouncy chair is always useful. Then again...
Tick-tock, Dave. Come on, time's of the essence here.
Oh, I agree with you all. Sounds good.
Okay, great. 9 months it is. And maybe we can do it faster.
So, do you think 9 months is a good estimate? Let's freeze the action and jot some notes about what happened.
Freeze? Okay, everybody, freeze!
Oh, not you guys. We'll fix it up later.
Okay. Okay, guys.
Okay, let's mark what happened. John here takes a snap decision to force a best estimate. Not sure what best means in this context. Most aggressive, most accurate, most likely to be true with uncertainty. John then draws back on his old, outdated experience and takes the underestimation bias to pronounce 9 months. John then hands off to Jenny, who sucks it up to the boss and agrees, ignoring her own misgivings. Jenny to Melissa for the estimate reversal in the face of team pressure. Then the ball goes to Dave and fumble! And that's a failed estimate. It was failed because 1, no new information was generated. 2, information that could be known was not analyzed. And 3, the agreement was superficial. It's going to fall apart at the first opportunity. For another take on the subject, let's look at Steve McConnell's excellent book called Software Estimation. It has a lot of techniques from individual estimates to mathematically intensive techniques.
Hey, don't forget the cone of uncertainty.
Oh, hi Steve. Hey, what'd you think of that estimate we just saw?
Well, I didn't actually see it because the cover of the book was closed.
True enough. But what do you think happened given your expertise?
Well, if it was like other group discussions about estimates that I've seen, there was probably a lot of unfocused discussion that really didn't produce much in the way of estimation results.
That's what happened. How would you work with this situation? What would you do?
Well, I like using structured group decision-making techniques.
Really? What are those?
Well, in a structured group decision-making technique, typically each person creates an estimate on their own, and then they get together to compare the estimates in some way or other, and then they discuss the estimates until they get to a point where they all agree on the estimate.
Wow. Are there any popular methods using that today?
I would say that it would have to be planning poker and wideband Delphi.
Sounds good. Well, we'll see you next time, Steve.
Yeah, I'll see you when we talk about the cone of uncertainty.
Goodbye. Let's cover Steve's basic points again. First, we talk about the problem. We don't want to talk about how to estimate, but we can talk about the inputs to the estimate and what we should be considering. The second, individual estimators go off and create their own estimates. How they create their estimates is up to them. We could ask general questions, but we should keep them limited. Third, the estimates are locked down and presented at roughly the same time. We can again talk about what went into the estimates, not how we estimated. Finally, if there's convergence from that, we're done. But if not, we'll want to repeat the process once again. Let's look at this example. Here are some estimates, and we can see that they come up, and we calculate the average. It's not bad. It's in the middle, but the high and low is quite a range. So we'll talk about the high and low, talk about why they're good and why they're bad. After we've done talking about it, we go back and we do the individual estimates. populate them, calculate the average, and we see that the spread's pretty good, and so we're done here. Let's go watch our team run the better procedure once again.
So we're here to talk about the Zebra project and get some good estimates for it. So I want to use our structured group estimation technique. So we each use your own favorite estimation technique, work on your numbers by yourselves, and then we'll share and come up with a good consensus. Any questions before we start?
Do you have a preference on what individual estimation process we use?
No, I want you to use the one that you like the best and that works best for you.
Should we include testing in these estimates?
Definitely. I want good numbers so I can take them to management. Okay, let's get going.
Welcome to the World Series of Estimation. I am here with St. Mater to bring you this exciting action.
Great to be here. Looks like they've decided to do this in a meeting format.
You mean there are other possibilities?
Sure. They could be doing the individual estimation offline and reporting back. This approach speeds up the process a bit and is fine with high uncertainty.
Great point, Esty. The tension is noticeably building. Let's look at the players and how they are estimating. Here we have Jenny from the development team. What do we have here, Esty? Is Jenny doing some bottom-up estimating?
I think she is. See how each item on the list is some subpart of the development effort? Jenny has to be careful, though. Looks like she's leaving out some critical parts. She should be using a checklist of typical activities or work patterns to help her out. Jenny is likely to be a little low unless she compensates in some other way.
Good observation, Esty. Looks like we have a number coming out. Yes, it looks like 11 months. Next, we have Melissa from the project office. This approach looks nothing like what we saw before. What's going on here, Esty?
A classic move. This is a form of analogy called bracketing. Melissa is trying to position Zebra among these other projects. As long as her analogies are sound, Melissa should come up with a solid estimate.
It looks like a 14. That's going to be hard to defend.
Not if the analogies are good. It all depends on the quality behind the analogy.
Here is Dave from testing. And why? That looks like algebra.
Not quite, but it is another solid technique called proxy estimation. The question for Dave is this estimate for testing only or for the whole project?
So far, a different technique from each estimator?
That's a strength of this approach. It doesn't always happen, but it should be encouraged.
Looks like we have a number coming up. It looks like a 17. No, check that, a 12.
Let's hope that's for the whole project and not just testing.
Whoa, what just happened here? A 9 just showed up for John.
Looks like wishful thinking. Probably is pretty close to or the same as the business's target. That's not just bad estimation. It isn't even estimation.
Well, it looks like all the number crunching is done and time to lay down the estimates. How important is it, Esty, to share all the estimates at the same time?
Very important. You want to bring as much unique information to the table as possible. A more sequential revealing may cause estimators to withhold information.
They are now combining the results. The min and the max are in, and the average. How does that look to you, Esty?
That looks good, right in the middle of the distribution. If it were heavily slanted to one side or the other, it would mean some more serious discussion would be needed.
And the range. Oh, a 1.6.
That's a bit high. While that may be the nature of the uncertainty at this point, they would probably benefit from another round.
Any issues that can crop up with that discussion?
Yes, the lead can dominate the discussion and subvert the individual estimating. They need to focus on why they estimated the way they did, not how they estimated.
Tell me your thinking behind 14 months, Melissa.
That is a great start to the discussion. When they're done, they will repeat the individual estimation and see if there is any convergence.
What if they don't converge?
Then they'll have to invoke a decision rule. More conservative folks go with the highest number. Another good rule is to go with the average. No matter what, they'll have a clear idea of what uncertainties they need to attach to get a better estimate for the next estimation point.
It looks like John is making a move to capture assumptions.
This is really important. With high uncertainty, you want to capture the assumptions people have about the item under estimation. These assumptions can be investigated as the project progresses and firm up future estimates.
Looks like they're going into a second round of estimates.
While they're working on their estimate, let's look briefly at the techniques that they used. Jenny started out with a bottom-up estimate. Here we take individual pieces and add them together, usually from expert judgment estimates. The problem with bottom-up can be when the expert judgments are biased. Starts skewing the entire estimate. It also, when you forget things, like Jenny might have forgot something. Melissa followed up with an analogy estimate. Analogy says, hey, let me find something I already know about, something I have historical data about, That's just like what I'm doing this time. The estimate, of course, is just as good as, well, the analogy. Here's a point where you can compare apples and oranges, but not apples and elephants. And Dave did a proxy estimate. A proxy estimate is where you count something that is easily countable where you're at right there and convert it or calibrate it to size or effort. The most common proxy may be something like story points, where you actually calibrate it against work you're really doing. Looks like they're almost done with their estimate. Let's get back to the action.
How will they know when they're done?
They are done when they converge on a number by average or by rule. If they cannot converge, the key output is the range and a completed assumption list.
Okay, looks like the numbers are coming in.
Looks like we have convergence. Still, they need to take action soon to verify or dispel the assumptions they have listed. When they've done that, they'll be in a position to make a better estimate.
And when they make that estimate, we will have it here on the World Series of Estimation.
Well, it looks like their estimate's really coming together. The plaiting poker variation that Steve mentioned earlier gets its name from using a deck of cards, like a poker deck. This particular deck uses a Fibonacci sequence. How it works is that individual estimators choose a card from the deck. If they all converge, they're done. If not, discuss and repeat. The other variation that Steve mentioned was wideband Delphi. Wideband Delphi follows the same basic procedure, except it adds a twist where each individual estimate is a nomina, a nimit, secret. The secret estimates are turned in, the convergence is checked. If there's not convergence, discussion happens, re-estimate. So let's look at that basic procedure one more time. First, the estimation is presented to the estimators. You can talk about the problem, but not how to estimate. Second, individual estimators start doing their own estimates. Shoot for the 50-50 estimate. Next, we present the estimations roughly at the same time, so we can bring in as much information as possible. Finally, we discuss the estimates. If we have convergence, we're good. Or we invoke a decision-making rule. Otherwise, we repeat the process one more time. Even from that basic procedure, you can vary it a couple more ways. You can have individuals who are remote estimated, so different people can then turn their estimates in to a central place. You could have teams create the estimates and then force the discussion. You could have different silos or different disciplines create the estimate. You could even mandate how much convergence they can possibly have. But as long as you stick to the basic procedure, it's going to work relatively well for you. Group estimation techniques tend to work on the wider part of the cone of uncertainty. That's where we have the least information and usually have the most uncertainty overall, so that our estimates, while not perfect, can still help make a good business decision. So why don't you try making your next estimate a group estimate?